Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Hello, my dear students, grade 8. I welcome all of you here today to have an idea about types of chemical reactions. We have three types of chemical reactions. Just to describe the chemical reaction, you must know the type of it. First type of chemical reaction is a synthesis chemical reaction. Second type is decomposition chemical reaction. Third type is replacement chemical reaction. So all of them are three types, and they are only depend on how the chemical reaction break all the bonds between the components or the reactants, and how it forms new bonds or new complex substances or new simple substances after the reaction is finished. This is how the substances may combine together or may break apart from each other to form simple substance. And the first type we have is synthesis chemical reaction, when we add or when we combine one or more element or compound together to form a new compound after the chemical reaction is finished. This is called synthesis chemical reaction. Like here we have the reaction between phosphorus and oxygen to form the phosphorus oxide. We have another type of chemical reaction, which is the composition or dissociation. Here we have, for example, hydrogen peroxide, which is complex. We dissociate it to form water and oxygen, or to prepare oxygen in the science lab. And here we have to dissociate or break down the chemical bonds of the hydrogen peroxide to form water and oxygen. So here we have only one chemical substance, that we have two chemical substances. So this kind of chemical reaction is called decomposition chemical reaction. In the last type, we have a replacement chemical reaction, which is divided into two types: single replacement chemical reaction and double replacement chemical reaction. How it is single or how it is double, it depends on how many number of elements that applying the replacement process. Replacement process here in this example, as you see, is when carbon replaces the copper in this compound, which is copper oxide. Here we have copper oxide plus carbon equals 4 atoms of copper plus carbon dioxide. What happened here in this chemical reaction is the carbon replaces the copper in the compound of copper oxide. So because carbon is only one type of element or one type of atom, it's called a single replacement chemical reaction. But if we have two types or two elements together and they replace each other, so this one is called double replacement chemical reaction. Like we have FeS plus 2HCl equals FeCl2 plus H2S. So here we have the replacement process is doubled between Fe and HCl, between Fe and H, which is ferrous and hydrogen. They replace each other in their compounds. So this one chemical reaction is called double replacement chemical reaction. We have in this diagram to just try now to explain it in another way. If we are represent the components or the reactants with persons, we have in the first type, which is replacement, each one of them replaces each other between HCl plus NOH equals NaCl plus HOH, which is water. So here it's a double replacement process. In the composition, we dissociate or decompose MgCl2 into more simple substances, which is Mg, which is magnesium plus chlorine. In the last type, which is synthesis, we add sulfur to oxygen to form sulfur oxide, which is complex, and this is the result is the result of addition sulfur, which is one type or one element, to another one type or one more element, and they form one complex compound, one complex chemical substance, which is called synthesis chemical reaction type. Here we have three types of chemical reactions: synthesis, decomposition, and replacement. So try to map your mind to remember the three types of chemical reactions as I did now in front of you in this diagram. Here we have first type, which is synthesis, when we add two or more chemical substances to each other to form a new, more complex chemical substance. For example, when we add phosphorus to oxygen to form B4O6, which is phosphorus oxide. In this type of reaction, we add one to another one chemical substance to form a new, more complex. Next type is decomposition chemical reaction. We here dissociate or we here decompose hydrogen peroxide to form, which is complex, to form water and oxygen in the science lab, to prepare oxygen in science lab. This one is gas, it releases up. This one is liquid. So here we separate these components of the hydrogen peroxide to form oxygen gas. Last type of chemical reactions is replacement chemical reactions. We have two types in this type. First type is single, when we only separate or replace one element to another element. Here we have, in this example, we replace carbon with we replace copper with carbon. We replace copper with carbon to form separated copper and carbon dioxide gas. This one is gas. So here we have single, only one element that replaces another one. In next type, we have two elements like ferrous and HCl. They replace each other. So this type is called double replacement chemical reaction. I'd like here you have an idea about this chemical type reactions in this diagram. Chemical reactions have three types. Look at this one, for example, when you add HCl plus NOH to form NaCl plus HOH. Here we have replacement. Why it's replacement? Because we replace two elements to each other. As you see, hydrogen replaces sodium and the chlorine replaces the, here we have HCl plus NOH equals NaCl HOH. So you can see with me that H replaces Na and Cl replaces and Na replaces H, which is hydrogen gas. So here we have two elements replaces each other. So this one is called double replacement chemical reaction. And second one, we have the composition chemical reaction, because MgCl2 is complex. It forms of metal and non-metal. We dissociate it or decompose it into Mg plus Cl2 separated ones from each other. So this one is called the composition chemical reaction. Two persons, two atoms, two types of elements. The last type is synthesis chemical reactions, when you add sulfur to oxygen to form sulfur dioxide. This one is separated to each to this one. They are different. There are two types of elements. Both of them are non-metals, yes, but we add them together to form one complex chemical substance, which is sulfur dioxide. Here we have also some evaluation questions. I'd like you to have an idea about them to define any type of chemical reaction or to give one example for the chemical reaction. For example, here you add only one element to another compound, which is Zn plus 2HCl equals Ha2 plus ZnCl2. Here you have only one element you add it, which so this one is called single replacement. Single replacement. And this is definition of synthesis chemical reaction. I'd like you to have an idea and to enjoy this lesson together, inshallah. Thanks for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.